Welcome back to our third lesson that we are going to speak today about the presentation overview and the structure. So, if to talk about the presentation and the overview and the structure, we should start with the organizational details. What can you say about the organizational details?
Absolutely. So you want your audience to absolutely know what you're going to talk about. So the first thing that is really important that you want to mention is the timing of your presentation. Mm-hmm. So you want your audience to know that you're going to talk, for example, for like 15 minutes or 45 minutes, or it's going to take 2 hours. It depends. So you may start with such phrases as, "Thanks for being here today. I really appreciate your time. And our presentation is going to last not more than 20 minutes. So this is going to show your audience that you appreciate their time and that they are going to know what is happening. So you are building the structure.
Yeah, just to jump in, it is with my experience that I had recently. It was that I brought the audience, and my audience was a potential clients.
Right.
This was the lead of the company and the CEO and the HR of the company, and we presented like it was really, really cool that I started. Okay, our presentation is going to last about 30 minutes, not more, and that gave them a chance to sit and to be ready for these 30 minutes and be involved into the presentation. Okay, if to talk about the organization, what is your point of view upon the handouts? Should we bring the handouts with us, like brochures or whatever? What do you think about it?
That's a great question. So having some extra stuff during your presentation is always a good point. That's a plus for your presentation. But here, you definitely want to be really careful. So when you have some kind of, handouts, some kind of information, some graphs, or maybe numbers, so you want to make sure that they are not going to interfere with your presentation. So you want to present them either before, if you need your audience to know what you're going to talk about in advance, or you may just hand them out at a proper time. But again, at the beginning of your presentation, it's always great to say that I'm going to hand out something for you, like graphs or tables, whatever you're going to give them out.
And over here, like really, really cool thing. When you are giving your product, it can be kind of a handout as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
For example, if you're a head of a handmade store, or you are providing arts and crafts or whatever, you can bring this as a sample to your audience, and then like they can touch it, they can feel it, it like kinesthetically, and this is going to be really, really cool thing, and you will give them a chance to be acquainted with the product. The same can be with the services. You can bring the example, or you can bring like the video, how you are delivering this service to your company, to somebody else, and they can be involved into the process. Very important point that you mentioned about the handout. If it is a paper or brochure, it can be also really, really important when you are presenting, for example, and if you're bringing everything on one page, it can be something that can break your presentation. So be very, very specific with this. If you're bringing it, you have to either divide the handouts into different separate pieces of paper, or you can bring some spaces for the self-reflection.
It's a very nice example, thank you. But what about, imagine you have handed out to your audience some, handmade stuff, and they are kind of looking and touching, and are you going to talk at that time? So, or do you want to give them time to, to experience that stuff?
I would definitely give them chance to experience, and I wouldn't talk while they are looking at it and just touching or looking through it. This is very important. Thank you very much for taking into account it. And the other thing, while they are touching some product, there might be some questions.
All right. questions.
What can you say about the questions? Should you like postpone this question Q&A session, or you should answer straight away? What are your recommendations
That's a very
upon
important one. Yeah. So speaking about the fact when you do the handouts and the questions might arise. So you want to be really careful with your handouts. You want to be really careful with your pictures, with your slides, videos, and so on. And when the time comes to questions, so you have two options. So the first one, either let your audience interrupt you and you want to tell them, I'm ready for your questions during my presentation, so feel free to interrupt. I'll try to answer all of your questions. So that's a very good point to use because you can still keep in touch with your audience. That may help you to build your presentation upon their ideas, upon their questions, upon their demands or requirements. So this will show that you are interested. On the other hand, the second type of receiving question could be after your presentation.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, you definitely, if you do not want to be interrupted, if your presentation has a precise structure, you want to tell your audience, after my presentation, you can have your questions. I'll be happy to answer. So please take notes of any ideas. So that shows your audience that you are not ready, you do not want, or this is not necessary to get their questions. So again, it depends on the type of your presentation. It depends on a lot of things.
Yeah, but to jump in over here, it is very important also not to drop the question,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because if you're dropping the question, I will answer about it a little bit later, that means that you will never come back to the question.
Yeah.
So it is like from the speaker, very important. Just if you have like some piece of paper, just write down the questions or ask your audience to write down the question and then be ready to answer, whether it is the statistics or whether you're bringing your examples of your personal stories. Both of these actions can be really, really crucial, because if you are not coming back to the question, that means that you are disrespecting your audience.
She forgot about me.
Yeah. Like
she
this
didn't
can
care.
be. Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah, this might be. And also the other fact of grabbing attention, it is telling jokes.
All right. Absolutely. Yeah, telling jokes is just amazing. It always works. It helps. But there's also a but. So you want to make sure that the situation is appropriate.
Yeah.
You want to know your audience. Again, coming back to what we were talking about previously, you want to know your audience. So you will not crack, some inappropriate joke with people who you don't know.
Oh, yeah.
So
definitely.
That's kind of your part of your homework. So you want to learn your audience. You want to learn how they are going to possibly react to your joke. So that's another skill that you want to master, right? So this is coming with your practice. So telling jokes is a very nice one. So you can start with some simple and general jokes that could be understood everywhere, because again, if you are presenting to people from different cultures, you want to take that into consideration.
For sure.
You don't want to tell something that could, abuse your audience. So you want to be really careful with that.
When you're working on the international market and you're working with your potential clients or partners, this multicultural aspect is very important. So what does it mean? You can work, for example, with Germans who are very, very direct, and you can work with some of the other people who are not very direct. Ukrainians who are very direct in leading business and presenting and dealing up with the presentation.
Great.
But the other, like in some of the European countries, they are not going to answer straight away. So it is very important to bear in mind what is the culture you're working with.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And when we are talking about telling jokes, if you do not know how to say something, or you do not want to jump in with a joke, you can just be prepared, as you mentioned, and bring up some memes which are like ready made for you
and international. Everybody understands them.
And it will lead, and the temperature is going to warm up during the presentation. I really like telling jokes, and this is Kate.
Brilliant.
Also,
your presentation looks good. I don't remember your numbers, but I do remember your joke. That's it. But they do remember. They do remember you after that. So they do remember you as an image of a company. So that's very important. That's another hook that you build that connection through your interaction with your audience through jokes as well. So that's a very powerful tool. Thank you for mentioning that. That's really important and a good thing to keep in mind.
Yeah. The other thing that we are moving on with the presentation overview, it is very, very important to speak about the introduction. Like when you are bringing up the presentation, you are starting with the introduction, then that is the main thing that you're bringing into the presentation, like the body, as we are calling, and then we are moving on to the conclusion of the presentation. So what can you say, what are the top tips, just to summarize this lesson, what are the top tips that we are going to deal up with to start the presentation, to bring the overview of the presentation? What are they?
In conclusion, presentation overview and structure are really important parts of your presentation. So you want to make sure that you do them properly, because that may influence the effect of your presentation. So here are the few actionable tips that can be really useful for you. So the first one, you want to, again, practice your presentation. So even practice your jokes. So you want to know, you want to be ready, you want to know what you're going to talk about, and you want to know your audience, and so on and so forth. So the second one, use your visuals to support, as you've mentioned previously, the slides, the products, the presentation, the part of the video of your results of your company's work. So that's what you want to present. Another point is you want to be enthusiastic with your audience. So don't just boringly present the information. Nobody's going to listen to that. People's attention is very short when something is monotonous. But when you are enthusiastic about your topic, when you see that you understand it, when they see that you are passionate about it, so they feel it. So as you've mentioned about your joke, if you're talking about your product or services passionately, it is, transition to your audience. That's very important.
Yeah, and that is what bringing me to memories, how I was presenting my product to the target audience. This was a business club, male business club with the male.
All right.
And I was so passionate about my product. I interacted with the audience and I was dropping different jokes. And as you mentioned, and as we mentioned in the previous videos, how it was, I was preparing for that presentation together with my husband, by the way,
cool.
And it took us about 5 hours. We were bringing the jokes, what were the things, and I started, my experience of learning the language was really, really poor because I hated English. My mom was paying for my English and I was skipping the classes, and I had 5 teachers of English.
Nice.
And that was about first of all, it was a joke. The second, it was I anticipated that maybe my audience, they had the same things.
Absolutely.
And maybe they might have the same result. So to sum it up, practice, have a really, really cool passion, and have this idea what you're going to present. So that was the third audio and the third video of our lesson of business communication. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned for other tips that are going to be improving your presentations. Bye.
Bye.